Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Spotfire live session for July. And with me, I have Crystal Romero, product manager. Crystal, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm a product manager, and I'll be talking about SDV today. I'm looking forward to the session.
Thank you, Crystal. And I'm Jose Leviaguirre from Spotfire. And you're welcome to post your questions. We're streaming live from YouTube and LinkedIn. And I'm very happy to go to this session. But before that, I want to just make everyone on the same page of what's Spotfire. And for those who doesn't know, Spotfire is a visual data science platform, and it helps people to create interactive visual analytics applications to solve complex industry problems. And the Dr. Spotfire offers hours is once a month, every month at 11 Central, and we are streaming live YouTube and LinkedIn, and the sessions are recorded. So if you have any questions, you can always post them even if you're not watching the live session. And how the Dr. Spotfire works, we have these monthly sessions, as I said, and we get feedback through different means from the Spotfire community. It's our main source of feedback, where people post questions and the community and the Spotfire team responds to those questions. We have Spotfire ideas portals, ideas.spotfire.com, or through LinkedIn via comments or direct messages if you don't want to post those questions that might contain sensitive information. And there are different ways, even YouTube comments for feedback or future sessions. All those input comes into Dr. Spotfire. Then we also have monthly sessions, the quick tips, and that derives into maybe a new visualization or new data function that you might need for your specific needs, or Spotfire apps, accelerators, or maybe a data connector for something that you want. Remember that Spotfire is not just a tool, it's a platform, and there's many ways to extend the platform. So our motto is learning is not driven by answers, but by questions. So keep the question coming, and we will answer and start learning and discover as we go. So today's session, unify your data, and we're going to be talking, as Crystal said, to accelerate insights with data virtualization. This is Spotfire data virtualization, and Crystal, the floor is yours.
All right, great. Thanks for that introduction, Jose. So yeah, today we'll be talking about how you can accelerate your insights with Spotfire data virtualization. So this is just our standard confidentiality notice, but for today, what we have planned is just an overview of the product and kind of how it works. We'll talk through some of the use cases, as well as what's new in our latest release, which we're really excited about. So let's start with the overview. So SDV is an enterprise-grade platform that connects, integrates, and analyzes your data, regardless of the source, format, or location. We consider it to be the data flow orchestrator for any data source from any location. The streamlined access across hundreds of data sources is powered by a federated query engine, so users are really getting access to the data that they need when they need it in a performant way. And then we also offer flexible caching, so you're able to maintain that high performance so that the most frequently used queries are stored. In terms of governance, we also offer fine-grained security, so administrators have governance over every cell, column, and row of data. And then lastly, data analysts and business users alike can really feel empowered to create the views that they need for their downstream clients. So why SDV, right? We actually see today that industries are really struggling to work with data orchestration. Enterprises are wanting to commit to data-driven decision-making, but they're often struggling to meet the demand for their BI, self-service analytics, data science, 360, and AI use cases. And we've seen that traditional integration approaches have reached their limit. Historically, consolidation alone is unable to serve the full variability and capacity needed for full-fledged enterprises. plus the sheer amount of options for data utilization and variety of data sources, both on-premise and in the cloud, have exploded. When this isn't implemented correctly, enterprises are left with increasingly complex data environments with data distributed across different silos. And we also know that data is everywhere. There's demand growing for self-service analytics, data science, and machine learning use cases. So enterprises have to work with increasing costs to be able to maintain these traditional integration approaches. And they're often unable to, keep up with the data demand, sometimes leading to stale data for those data consumers. So it's very clear to us that there's a need for a secure and scalable digital data freeway. So SDV allows you to access, unify, and provision your enterprise data all in one single place and really become that comprehensive, secure, and scalable digital data freeway. Here, users can easily find, understand, and access the data that they need from the data sources they need and at the right time and on demand while maintaining the fine-tuned governance that IT teams require. Organizations can also deploy analytics applications sooner without the need for as much overhead, allowing them to get better insights and better quality decision-making on data that's up to date. And then lastly, organizations can leverage existing data investments to be able to optimize costs. So DV provides organizations with the insurance that they need to be flexible and agile to continue meeting their data demand, even when the large players in the data infrastructure world change. So I do want to highlight, you'll sometimes see our product offered in two different flavors. So for our customers who want the full enterprise-grade implementation of a data flow engine that's serving data to any client or any web service, we offer Spotfire Data Virtualization or SDV. And then for our customers who only want to deliver data exclusively to the Spotfire client, we offer what's called ADS or Spotfire Enterprise Advanced Data Services add-on. So next we'll talk about kind of the key features of Spotfire Data Virtualization. So SDV integrates and unifies your data into a single virtual model, creating trusted business data that can be used across your enterprise. SDV also enables decentralized preparation and enrichment, offering things like joins and transformations for real-time sharing to downstream consumers. SDV is also able to provision data without moving it or replicating it, so that original sources of record can be referenced and fewer resources are needed overall for the migration. You're also able to secure data across the enterprise with support for data masking, authentication, and different authorization options as well. And SDV optimizes for performance and scales automatically through query optimization, caching, massively parallel processing, and clustering options.
Okay, I have a question before you continue, Crystal. So Spotfire Data Virtualization is a different product from Spotfire. It's not Spotfire. It's just a different product that is able to virtualize different sources of information, different data sets.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, awesome.
Great. And then, as I mentioned, we have two offerings within the product. So that standalone Spotfire Data Virtualization offering for any client, any web service is available, in general. And then for customers who are only looking to use it with the Spotfire client and the Spotfire platform, you can look into ADS.
Okay, so we have two different products. One is basically the same product, but it's licensed different. One is only able to connect with the Spotfire, and the other one, it can be Spotfire or any other client, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, excellent.
Great. Sounds good. So I'll move on. And then, Spotfire Data Virtualization also comes with its own web UI. So data analysts are able to address those self-service data use cases and deliver data views across the enterprise. And then lastly, you're able to minimize big data platform complexity by handling the specific protocols and data formats of each data source without your end user needing to worry about this. So next we can take a look at these capabilities in a bit more detail. So in terms of unified data modeling, users can really understand the structure of your data sources with what we call metadata introspection. So this supports the downstream creation of views, procedures, or resource management. And this introspection enables users to be able to search and browse available data assets, understand their structure and characteristics, and be able to understand data relationships without needing to know the specific of each source's structure or location. And then data lineage and version control also provides clear access trails and really allows your administrators to be able to manage changes to your data assets. And then next is what we call data orchestration. So here users are able to define complex data flows with multiple data sources with syntactic and semantic transformations plus enrichment. And we also offer query acceleration via the cost and rule-based optimizations and the massively parallel processing engine. And we also offer support for SQL, SQL Script, Java, XQuery, and XSLT, so users can use the language that they feel most comfortable with. From a data connectivity standpoint, SDV offers access to over 300 different data sources, including things like applications, databases, big data, etc. So essentially, you can bring your data and we'll bring the adapter. And these adapters handle the specific protocols and data formats of each source so that less guesswork is involved when onboarding a new data source at your organization. And then if you'd like to build your own adapter, we also offer an extensible data source adapter framework. And this allows you to build the custom adapters suited to your organization's needs. And then lastly, for connectivity, you're able to move past basic data profiling and really delve deeper into examining your data and uncovering different connections across your data sources. For caching, users can efficiently retrieve frequently accessed data with flexible caching configurations. And SDV also offers support for over 15 cache targets out of the box and flexible caching configurations to essentially reduce the impact of resource-intensive queries being run on those data sources. And then we also offer, native bulk extract and load functions, so you're able to extract the data more efficiently and refresh caches more efficiently than your typical select and insert statements. And security and governance is of utmost importance to us, and we have a few different features here relating to security and governance that includes flexible authentication, authorization, encryption, and data masking options, including support for basic, pass-through, Kerberos, SAML, and NTLM authentication, and masking to be able to hide column values depending on the user's level of access. And then workload management policies also enable resource governance. So that includes providing information about how different sessions are accessed and introducing new rules to control downstream uses of DV. And then we also offer KPI metrics. So KPI metrics captures usage and provides observability into clusters of DV at your organization. So administrators can be in full control of how DV is being used at each organization. And then lastly, in security and governance, the policy-driven, fine-grained, multi-level security features really ensure that users can control access to specific rows and columns within a data set using the granular permissions available in DV. And then from a data delivery perspective, you can easily provision curated data views of virtual databases and virtual web services for consumption by any client. And you're also able to support, we offer support for both declarative and imperative data consumption models, as well as support for the full spectrum of standard delivery protocols, including JDBC, SOAP, REST as well. And then lastly, from the self-service web UI perspective, SDV supports the business user and data analyst self-service capabilities within the web user interface. And customers can also use the data catalog to be able to search and find available data and create your own published views.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Crystal, for this overview. And guys in the audience, this is a reminder that this is an overview of the tool. And just give us some examples, Crystal, on what kind of data sources you already mentioned there, that JDBC, ODBC, and REST APIs. So why should I use, or when should I use SDV versus the traditional connections that Spotfire already has built in?
Yeah, so traditionally you would use SDV if you're looking for full enterprise observability and governance into your data sources. When you're looking to onboard a data source that maybe is not available as a native connector in Spotfire, that's also a great reason to use SDV. And then, SDV is really targeted towards the enterprise grade level of integration. So let's say, you're going through a merger and acquisition at your organization, and you're looking to keep those data sources and the original sources of record. SDV can really be of great benefit to be able to leverage those data sources in a blended environment and deliver it to downstream clients exactly at the right time. So I'd say, SDV is really that full-fledged enterprise-grade offering, whereas, the data connectors in Spotfire are really geared towards those analytics use cases.
Oh, okay, that really makes sense. So, for example, if I have, I don't have to change the structure on that existing database that is being consumed by different platforms. I can just put a layer of SDV and then accommodate the sources and the views and everything. I just mash them up together from different sources. It can be Excel files or REST API or different data sources, and then I have a virtual layer that any other client can consume from Spotfire or any other client.
Yep, that's exactly right. And, that virtual layer is standardized across the organization. So, you're able to understand those data properties and resource management all in a single, interface that's easy to understand for business users.
Yeah, and one of the like simple use case in Spotfire that I've seen is that people sometimes they want to analyze a large file, a large text files or Excel files, and they cannot do the data on demand. They have to wait all the data to load. But when you put the SDV, you can virtualize that, and you can still do on demand because everything is handled by that virtualization layer.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Thank you, Crystal.
All right. Great. And then, talking about that virtual layer, I do just want to highlight how the product works and how it's working with all these different data sources. So, SDV is really that single access layer and data flow orchestrator between the data sources and the end consumers. So you're really decoupling the data consumers from the actual data producers. So SDV is using an adapter to communicate with the data sources and all the wide range of protocols. And when that data source is connected, SDV is extracting that metadata, things like schemas, tables, and columns to be able to store that in that central repository. And you're able to access that repository amongst other data sources in that unified, governed, and secure manner. And from here, users of Spotfire data virtualization can then combine and transform the data to join from different data sources, filter the data and apply your different data transformations. And SDV's query optimizers can then analyze the incoming queries and figure out what the most efficient way to retrieve the data from the sources is.
No, I was going to mention that also one of the other advantages of SDV is that you mentioned in earlier slides, I don't know if you're going to talk about more in future slides, but the parallel processing, you mentioned that it's capable to do parallel processing. And I've heard some stories that they were reducing the amount of ingestion time from hours to minutes, depending on the number of processors that you put on.
Yeah, that's right. So there are a number of parallel processing, features, as well as query optimizations. And so when you're running these queries or retrieving data, you can, get performance improvements, sometimes by tenfold, depending on what you're doing within the product. So really, you have full flexibility in terms of how you're processing and how you're kind of sending data to your sources, as well as retrieving it.
Great, thank you, Crystal.
Sure. And then, we always want to ensure that your data is governed and secure. So as I mentioned earlier, all of these different data flows are governed by various authentication and authorization metrics, like, being able to mask certain tables and understand data lineage to ensure that all of data access, even though there is a lot of movement and a lot of data retrieval going on, that all of those lines are secure and governed. And then developers and data engineers can perform this within the desktop product called Studio. And then the metadata is also stored in a data catalog that can be accessed via the web UI for data analysts and business users to be able to use this in a low-code web UI. And then once, obviously the data views are created, these virtual views of data can be published for downstream consumption, either via standard SQL tables or web services like SOAP or REST, to be able to support analytics and operations use cases like BI reporting, visual data science and Spotfire, or even support operations use cases like IT migrations and merger and acquisition consolidation. So you'll see here that users kind of have a few different options when they're utilizing the product. So the first and probably most common across our user base is the Studio product. So this is a flexible and graphical modeling tool where data engineers can create their data views and test them, and be able to update data views to the data services repository for others in the organization to access. And then this graphical representation of the data really makes it easy to understand how the data view was compiled and created. And then query optimizations and caching ensure that data retrieval remains performant, and users are able to manage resources here as well. And then from a web UI perspective, there's this is our low-code and no-code web-based user interface offering. So here, data analysts can really utilize the data catalog to search for available data services and build and execute their data flows using low-code operators, and be able to publish data flows for consumption in Studio and in other clients, all without using code. And then next is our Web Manager. So Web Manager is a web-based tool where administrators can monitor server performance and utilization, be able to manage clusters and data source configurations, and set up different user roles and permissions and access system logs, as well as set up different security profiles and view kind of those real-time updates of server health and connectivity. And then lastly, Deployment Manager is our web-based tool. So administrators here are able to migrate entire projects in a single step, including things like resources, cache settings, server configurations across different instances. So whether that's your development environment, your testing environment, or even your production environment. And here you can fully really automate that development lifecycle. So I realize that I'm talking to a group of mostly Spotfire users, so I do want to address, how SDV and Spotfire really complement each other. Even though they target different personas, they actually complement each other really well. So for SDV, this is really targeted for data engineers and developers and data analysts. And here you're able to unlock hundreds of available data sources, without the need for in-house storage. And you're also able to design and deploy data models with ease here. SDV doesn't necessarily perform complex analyses that are typically required of a subject matter expert, nor does it provide much in the way of visualization, but that's because, that's not the tool's end goal. And then for Spotfire, this is really designed for those engineers, the subject matter experts and researchers. And as we all know, it's very strong in data exploration and analysis and final visualization production. But it really isn't ideal for, enterprise comprehensive data lineage. And so how each product can kind of help each other, users can obviously get started on analyses from disparate data sources earlier. As I mentioned, we have access to over 300 different data source options. The caching and performance features really ensure that the visualizations and analyses can operate at optimal speeds. And analyses are being run on trustworthy, governed, and up-to-date data. So, you can be assured that the data you're using is accurate, up-to-date, and it's being retrieved efficiently so that you can produce high data quality in your results. And then lastly, the self-service web UI enables users to be able to create the views specific to their analyses.
Okay, so thanks for that, Crystal. I want to mention that this session was meant to be an overview of SDV, as we mentioned before, but we would love to see some kind of demo or use case where we can see how it looks and how to set it up. Just a very basic, maybe for a future session. So if you guys are interested, let us know and we'll put together that session as a follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to, spreading the knowledge and sharing how the product works. All right. So how are we doing on time, Jose? Do we want to walk through?
Yeah, we can keep going.
Okay. All right. So next, I'll just dive into a little bit of the use cases that we see in our customer base, and then we can talk through some of the questions and answers. So you'll see SDV implemented in a few different use cases across our customer base. So in manufacturing, SDV can really provide a 360-degree view of the supply chain for your logisticians and planners, powering downstream use cases like portfolio and supplier management, cost of quality, operations analysis, and real-time prediction for really producing the best product or anticipating different maintenance actions. And then in healthcare, SDV provides a 360-degree view of the patient for medical professionals and researchers alike. And here we're able to power a number of downstream use cases like data privacy, regulatory compliance, risk management, and then patient data management. So providers can really create that personalized experience that reflects the most up-to-date information on the patient. And then in energy, SDV can really support a 360-degree view of asset management for drill engineers. So that includes, supporting use cases like exploration and seismic data analysis, drilling operations monitoring, like knowing where to drill next, production optimization, reservoir management, asset management, and supply chain management. And then in the financial industry, SDV can power a 360-degree view of client positions and trades for end clients and account managers. So you're able to support use cases here like decision tool prototyping, operations analytics, loan servicing, dealer relations, data integration through mergers and acquisitions, all to be able to provide that seamless experience for both end users and end customers and employees alike at financial institutions. Then lastly, we have a 360-degree view of services and support for customer service agents, including things like cost control and real-time customer views for personalized experiences. And then before I finish and open it up to questions, I do just very want to quickly highlight what's new in our latest release. So 881 was our latest release for governance and security. You will see the TIBCO name on it. We are working through the rebranding, but it was TIBCO at the time, but we included a number of new features in this release, including addressing scalability and performance, like being able to improve performance and configuration for handling JSON arrays, introducing new inputs for the nchar and nvarchar functions to be able to set the length of the output char. We introduced, the ability to cancel cache refreshes, to terminate running cache jobs, and extended the support for introspection of server transactions, including, built-in procedure library, and that was extended to be able to support the introspection of different server transactions. And we also enabled different status logs for runtime monitoring to be able to understand metrics like wait times and server startup time. And then from a data connectivity standpoint, we enabled the automatic clearing of BCP files after a restart and expanded a number of introspection use cases. And then lastly, but most importantly, this is where a number of our new features for this release reside, but that's in terms of governance and security. So we have a new CData driver that powers the Power BI OAuth SSO connection to SDV. We also introduced OAuth refresh token support and introduced a number of access restrictions to be able to, customize your access restrictions at your organization and streamline privilege management, and made a number of improvements with respect to KPI metrics and workload management policies. So these are all available today. So for customers that are looking to understand what's new, we do have a new release. And that is the extent of today's presentation. Again, it was a pleasure to be here today and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Crystal. And just to wrap up, I'm going to just remind you that we're live every month, the first Tuesday of every month at 11 Central on our YouTube channel and also on LinkedIn. You can also check our community site, community.spotfire.com, and there in the menu you will see a Dr. Spotfire item where you can also see previous sessions and this one also, as well as recorded session. You can always contact us for suggestions for demo data function scripts, whatever you come to mind. You can send us directly an email at dr@spotfire.com or any other means that I mentioned before. And thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.